Not everybody knows that it's possible to lose weight and have fun at it and have a blast at it. But, if they have the idea that, yes, these folks have done it ahead of me, and uh, the hypnotist has seen so many folks, and some clients even say, well, the hypnotist has done this so many times, I just trust them. I just trust that I need the help, like you said, Robbie.
That's a useful approach, for sure.
Even if they just accept it long enough to try it and notice that it works out, that's a real
and they need to be willing to do it enough times that they see the results they get from it. Yeah.
Right. You're talking about rehearsal.
So rehearsal, but also surrendering into it, because, we'll fight it at the beginning. We want to do what we've always done. And so when we're doing something new, our subconscious and our nervous system might fight it, just because people are creatures of habit. And so knowing that ahead of time helps, because then okay, I need to repeat this at least 3 to 7 times before knowing anything, and to just be willing to agree to do that.
Right. And you really said something very important, is the idea of surrendering into the actions we need to take, and surrendering even our position. And you're right, the autonomic nervous system doesn't want to let go of what we've done all the time already. Yeah, it does take some practice. It takes some willingness.
Yeah. Sometimes we get clients who come in when they're in internal debate. For example, I once had a client who was coming for weight loss, and she didn't want to go do her physical activity. And so one day when she was here, I made her go for a walk with me. And we went and we took a walk around the block, and that showed her, hey, it's possible. So she had somebody else. She was willing to follow instructions. And then when she went home, she went and she started to walk. And she admitted to me at her next session that what she had been worried about was, she was thinking, what are all those people going to think of this? And I'm using her words, this obese woman walking outside. And so she was worried. She had this fear of scrutiny. And by doing it, it showed her that nobody even paid attention to her. And so it made it much easier for her to take action. So sometimes by doing things, we can, we realize our fears aren't justified, or we realize it's easier than we thought. Sometimes we need to be willing to rehearse it enough. Like sometimes people don't like eating vegetables, and, they know maybe to lose weight or even just to be healthier. I've had people come for help simply to learn how to like vegetables, because they know they're good for them, but they've never liked them in their whole life. That they need to be curious and experimental and try them enough times and enough different ones that they can discover what they like. And so being willing to have fun with that process is important, because otherwise, if they say, no, I hate vegetables, they taste terrible, they're so bitter, or whatever, or I hate the texture. Well, if they're imagining it that way, of course they're not going to like them. So it's being willing to agree to perceive something differently in our senses, and to imagine it's possible and enjoyable, or an adventure to discover something new. So part of the agreement is in actions, and some of it is in being willing to have the attitudes and beliefs that really support making that enjoyable.
Right. And the idea of associating pleasure with the actions and pain with the inaction might help to end that debate as well.
Can you give us an example of how somebody might do that?
Sure. The thing that comes to mind is the conference call that we just had with Scott and you, and where we were talking about the drama and the emotions that Scott is teaching in those moments. And it occurs that the idea is that the emotions, kind of the drama and the emotions and the blowing up of the I'm not sure if I'm putting this the right way, but the maybe the fun of it, or the ridiculousness of it, or blowing it up to the ridiculous.
Yeah, beyond like threshold is what we call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That tends to, I think, maybe outweigh the old, outdated way. And we start to, in our autonomic nervous system, we start to not just intellectually, but in our body, in our senses, seeing, hearing, and feeling, we actually notice that the emotion of taking action feels better, and that the risk is in the inaction. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
So Fritz Perls talks about how to end frustrating internal debate, right? Top dog, underdog thinking. There's a part of me that wants to stop smoking, and there's another part of me that really wants to keep smoking. And so how we end that, and we have lots of ways within hypnosis to do this, but the gist of it is that we want to associate only pleasure with the outcome of becoming a non-smoker, and only pain with the smoking. But when people are stuck, often they're mixed associations. So they might say, well, I really enjoy smoking, but I don't like that it makes me cough. And so they've got pleasure and pain in the same activity. Yeah.
Right. So if we can emphasize the pain of the problem and emphasize the pleasure of taking action, the enjoyment of what they're going to get, the benefits of what they're going to get by taking action, or by quitting the smoking. And if they actually associate with that more and make it more real in their mind, as though it's happening right now, because it is happening right now, they're making that change.
Yeah. So sometimes people are worried that with hypnosis, it's like mind control and somebody's going to get in there and make them do things they don't want to do. It's a really common fear that people have. And the truth is that when you come to see a skilled hypnotist, you're there because you want to achieve a specific outcome, like losing weight, stopping smoking. Maybe you're looking to get rid of a fear or build your business more successfully. And so as you have that clear outcome with the hypnotist, both of you are looking in that direction. And that's what makes it a lot easier to trust the process, because all the suggestions being given are helping you get there. And so that's how we keep everything nice and clean. And the truth is that if somebody gets a suggestion that they don't agree with or goes against their morals or values or whatever, right, something they really don't want to do, they'll just reject it. And so you can feel confident with that. We also audio and video record our sessions so that there is a record of what happened, and that keeps everybody in a good place. And so there are things in place that help protect you from that sort of thing. And I think it's a valid question that people have.
We can show them, hey, it is possible, because nobody's going to accept a suggestion or a new belief or idea until they believe that it's even possible for them too. So there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be a light in the clearing for them to feel like that they are, that it's worth taking in that new suggestion, because they don't want to get their hopes up.
Right.
If they come in thinking, gosh, this is just another thing that's going to let me down, or this is just another thing I'm trying that's not going to work out. Well, we can even confront that thought and say, hey, is this what you're feeling? Because I kind of sense that maybe you're not really sure because you've tried so many things, and I really understand that. But this way, this time, this way needs to be totally different. This time needs to be totally different.
So they're seeing the success of other people that builds their belief, but we're also helping them deal with the feeling of risk, that they don't want to be disappointed or heartbroken once again by trying something and not following through or it not working. And so the read that we give them, often people have never had somebody get them the way that they're seeing at the screening. We're helping them see where they were in their way, and often they don't know that they were just stuck and they weren't sure how to get out, or they thought they knew and it turns out it's something else. So when somebody outside of you is giving you that kind of feedback and seeing the bigger picture of what's happening and the things that need to change, that creates a lot of trust. And that's one of the things that we do in the free screening to help people.
Right. And sometimes just that revelation, sometimes just being told, hey, or asked, hey, is such and such happening? Or is this, and doing it with a mood of curiosity, where where we're genuinely asking in a sincere and loving way, hey, is this what's in your way? And they go, wow, yeah, that's exactly it. And that's, gosh, and they will say things that help you to know. As a hypnotist, the client will say things that help you to know that they are really getting something of value in that screening, such as they might say, I've never had this kind of conversation with somebody before. And if a client is feeling that way in reality, that's a really good sign for the client. So if a client is hearing this, go with that. That's a great feeling. It's a warm, uh, kind of a
Yeah,
relief.
finally somebody gets it and they know what you need to do to change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And one thing that I find really helpful is to give clients a sense of humor, that we're really all a bunch of kids having temper tantrums all the time. I had a client once who was really in her head and in a lot of debate, and she was very resistant to being told what to do because she'd had some bad experiences in her real life with that. So she was really standing back and, needing a lot of safety in her decisions. And she had a son who was maybe 8 years old. And so she came in one day and she said, all right, I'm finally getting this being willing to simply agree thing, because I just went for my walk and I did it and it felt good. And then I was getting my son to do something and I was trying to get him to see, hey, it would be so much easier if you just go agree and do it. And so it really helped her as a mom and helping her son. And she knew she was simply trying to help him in a useful way, that it was interesting for her to see from an outside point of view how much people can sabotage themselves that way, or how much easier life really can be if you're willing to simply, follow instructions. So there are categories where this is really useful and helpful. And in our society, it's really looked at as smart to debate things. And in school, we learn how to weigh the options or think things through or be rational. And there's definitely subjects where that does belong, right? If you're doing like pure science or something like that. And so there's a willingness to acknowledge that when we're living our lives, everything starts with emotion. It's not rational.